front of the camera.
All right, so nice to meet you guys.
Okay, I'm going to just quickly introduce Hunter Holzhauer. He's the professor in charge of the Student Managed Fund here. And at our last meeting, you had a presentation about some of the companies that the students had been researching. And at that time, I don't think we had any funds invested. Or maybe it was just about to be invested.
That day.
That day.
That day, okay. So now we're coming back, I don't know how many months later, but
Exactly 6 months.
6 months. So we thought it would be interesting for all of you to see what they've achieved in that time. And so I'll turn it over to Hunter.
Thank you very much, John, and I'd like to thank all the board too for letting us come back and give you some wonderful updates on the progress we made with the Student Managed Fund, both from a performance standpoint and from a learning standpoint. And also, just before we get started, I'd like to let Vince know that we are very thankful to him and his family for making this fund a reality. So the students really appreciate it. Okay, so as you may recall, 6 months ago we came to the board and we presented the Student Managed Fund and the fact that we had just allocated $100,000. Well, and we also talked a lot about the investment policy statement. Today we're going to do something a little bit, or actually totally different, so that you guys will get a completely different presentation. As you can see from the flyer, the students have done very well. They've made over $111,000, almost $12,000 within 6 months. So if you want to run those percentages in your head, that's almost a 25% annual return rate. It's pretty good. So some of you may want to think about putting your 401k with these guys. And although even on the charts you can see it looks like they're neck and neck with the S&P 500, their benchmark, they've actually made $1,600 this week alone. So if we updated that little graph there, they would actually be beating their benchmark too. So they're just doing a fantastic job. Also, I'd like to talk a little bit about how important this is for the students. Some of the students also, as you'll see during the presentation, are international students. And it's hard for them sometimes to get the experience that they need to actually get a good footing into the corporate world here. So this gives them an opportunity that they wouldn't get anywhere else as well. So it's great for the domestic students, and it's really important for some of the international students too. These guys are doing a fantastic job. I thought I'd give you a wide selection or a wide perspective of the Student Managed Fund because it plays into a bunch of different levels for the students. So what we have here are the officers. So we have 5 officers. We also have 30 senior portfolio officers, and they are lead analysts for specific sectors. So they're going to have a different perspective as well. And then we have 3 students that are currently in the class. So they're the junior portfolio managers. And last time we did this as well, and that group was called You Beta Watch Out. It was a play on the word beta. And this group is Risky Business, and they have kind of the same mentality as that group. So they'll bring a little different perspective as well. So we have a great perspective, wide range here. And also I want to say that these students are getting any grade here. They do all of this pro bono. They're volunteering, and they're volunteering in the last week of classes on the last day of classes. So everything they've done here, and you'll see, is pretty spectacular, especially considering that they wanted to do it. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to make this a lot less about me and a lot more about them. Without further ado, I'll let Anton start off the show.
Thank you, Dr. Holzhauer. My name is Anton Jura. I'm a Chief Strategist and President of the Student Managed Fund. First, I would like to welcome you at Penn and thank you for coming here today. We are very excited to present here today and share our experiences. So, what is a Student Managed Fund? It's pretty much a $100,000 student rent equity portfolio. We are mostly allocated in the large caps, and our long-term overall investment strategy is pretty much long-term. So in other words, we use buy and hold strategy. Why is this student managed fund so unique compared to other projects that we have as students? It's because of our active learning perspective and hands-on experience. This is not even comparable to any of the simulations we've been introduced before as juniors. In, for instance, investment class 420. This is a real award. It doesn't get better than that. As a president, I pretty much oversee the fund. I schedule all the meetings. I make sure that I coordinate and review our investment strategy, and also approve the final trades after the juniors provide us with excuse me, with their screening stocks. And pretty much my primary focus is in a quarterly report. And as you can see, the quarterly report is a summary of the fund. It includes the performance, economic and market trends analysis, and future outlooks for the student managed fund. I would advise or recommend, as we progress through this presentation, you can follow the presentation, look in the table of contents if you need more detail, especially about the performance analysis, where we have really good news for you. And today we're going to be covering how the student managed fund functions. Then we're going to move on to the performance, and the bulk of the presentation is going to be focusing on junior and senior managers' perspective of their active learning experience. And now I would like to introduce Jink, who is going to talk about the functions of the student managed fund.
Thank you very much, Anton. I'm Jake Palu, and I'm the VP of Market Analysis. My role today is to talk about the decision-making process and checkdowns in student managed funds. Our approach is actually a top-down approach, start from microeconomy, for specific stock, and here's more detail. And first, the senior managers, senior officers, and this sector analysts do research on the microeconomy conditions and sector analyzing, and then make a recommendation memos to junior analysis. And then the junior analysis will do further research on specific stocks, and they will have an investment strategy meeting to decide the buy-sell recommendation, and then they will have the recommendations feedback to seniors and the sector analysts, and then and then we will have a meeting to decide the final buy-sell decisions. The final decision will then go back to Dr. Hosaus, who will make sure the trade will be processed. So our approach mimics a real life experience in many investment companies, and it also maximizes our students' involvement in decision-making process and improve learning process by making students do a lot of research in microeconomic conditions and sectors, stocks, and applying what we have learned in the class to real-world experience. And then I will hand it to Q, and he will talk about the performance of the portfolio.
Hi, my name is Ki-Sung Park, and I'm the Vice President of Risk Management. My job is to manage the overall risk for our portfolio, confirm orders based on their risk, and then track the performance for our portfolio. Today, I want to talk about performance. We started building our portfolio at the end of October with an initial capital of $100,000. And as of April, we have 53 stocks in 10 different sectors, which Amy will talk about next. I can say that our portfolio is very well diversified because there are many research showing that having 30 to 50 stocks is actually good for diversification. And we also have beta of 0.96 that tells us that our portfolio is relatively conservative compared to the market. As you can see on the table, this shows the returns for our portfolio, S&P 500, which is our benchmark, and NASDAQ. The first row shows the initial value, the second row ending value, and the third, it shows our absolute return. Looking at the absolute return, the third row, we actually had lower return than S&P 500. We had 10.31%, whereas S&P 500 had 10.66%. Before student managed fund, I would have concluded that we actually underperformed compared to our benchmark. But if we actually adjust for risk, we had return of 8.93%, whereas S&P 500 had 8.2%. So we beat the market by 0.01%. The graph below shows our return for our portfolio, S&P 500 and NASDAQ. At the beginning of our management, we actually outperformed our benchmark and NASDAQ. But at the end of November, we were pretty much even, and we slowly underperformed our benchmark and NASDAQ. But over time, we actually beat NASDAQ, and as of now, we are pretty much even with S&P 500. Every day, I look at the market and compare our portfolio to the market here. And I ask myself, do we perform better? Which stocks went up or down? Sometimes one stock goes up dramatically, and then the next day something goes down to offset our gains. We also have to consider our current holdings. Do we want to sell, hold, or buy more stocks? Every day the market is changing, and it's just exciting to see how we perform, and just anticipating how we're going to perform tomorrow is interesting too. Also, based on those changes that happen in the market, we also have to tweak our decisions so that we can manage our portfolio a little bit better. For me, this is what makes SMS Student Managed Fund so much more interesting and fun. And next, Amy will go into more details about gains and losses.
Thank you, Q. My name is Amy Rice. I'm a senior officer and I'm vice president of portfolio analysis. My position was to go further in detail from the portfolio return. I maintained the Excel spreadsheet, which was computing the analyzed portfolio weighted stock and sector returns. This research identified the strongest and then the weakest sectors, and it pinpointed the areas that we wanted to focus on. This data was used in senior meetings, and it helped us decide which stocks to sell and what stocks to purchase. Looking at these two areas of the sector and the stock returns, first I'm going to focus on the sector returns. Looking at the top graph, there's 10 sectors, and there's significant differences in these returns. They range in over a 30% difference between the 19.70% and the negative 12.41. Because of these returns and focusing on this, we wanted to be mindful of each sector's weight and what we had in each sector. Moving down to the second graph, the sector weights are shown on the graph, although these are ranked from our top performing stocks to our least performing stocks. And we want to gear our portfolio to have our best performing sectors in our most heavily weighted, and then downward. Next, I'm going to look at the stocks that comprise the sector. Some of our top performing stocks. Celgene is a biotech pharmaceutical company. They specialize in cancer research and some cancer medications. It was an amazing trend for us. It gained 69% and added over $1,500 to the portfolio. Some of the worst performing stocks. Yum Brands is a fast food company. Whole Foods Market, they're a high-end grocery store, but they are a solid company, and the demand for organic foods is expected to increase. Two Harbors, we purchased that because it pays substantial dividends. And New Mining Corporation, it produces gold, and it's taken a recent decline, and due to the from lack of demand from the emerging companies, we have expected some of these companies to turn around, but we are going to debate in the future whether to hold them or not. Overall, we want to be more mindful of the weights in each sector and what they're returning, and adjust our portfolio accordingly while we can still stay diversified. Next, we have Stephen, who's a junior manager, and he is going to explain the recommendation process.
Thank you, Amy. As she said, my name is Stephen Marion, and along with me is Hunter and Brian. We are members of the current class and junior, we comprise the group Risky Business, and we are junior portfolio managers. I was just going to walk you guys through what we do for the recommendation memos and give just one small story of my experience from this year. So for the recommendation memos, all the kids in the class write what we would like to buy or sell from the portfolio, and we give that to whatever group is presenting for the week, running the meeting. So people take all different sorts of ways that they do analysis of their stocks, and my story kind of starts before the student managed fund. I used to look at companies like Apple, and I'd see that they had high liquidity, high quarterly revenues growth, strong analyst opinions, and really great products, and I would think to myself, this looks like a great company. Why would I not want to invest in this? So I would probably have that in my portfolio. After being in the class, we learned things like fundamental analysis, which has a focus on earnings and ratios such as the PE ratio and the PEG ratio. We also looked at technical analysis, which looking at moving averages and predicting future prices based off of past information. And we also looked at event-driven analysis, which is looking at a company and see if they have any outstanding lawsuits or any mergers and acquisitions coming up. We do all this in our blended combination, and we would decide if the company was over or undervalued. And we would compare that to what we thought the competitive advantage was of that company, and then that's when we'd write down what we decided and put it in a recommendation memo and submit it. After Apple dropped, before the student managed fund, I would have thought to myself, oh, they'll just rebound. They're a great company. Why would they go down any farther? But after doing this blended analysis and talking about it in class with other students, we decided we should cut our losses and get out of Apple, which turned out to be a really smart idea because it took another plunge almost immediately after we got out of it. So what I took away from this mainly is that you can't just look at a company as its face value. You have to really dig into the financial statements and find why you should buy or sell that stock. Up next, we have Hunter, who will be talking about the investment strategy meeting process.
Thank you very much, Stephen. As you said, my name is Hunter Beckenstoss. I am one of the junior portfolio managers in the portfolio management class. And today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the investment strategy meetings that are held within our class. These meetings are held on a bi-weekly basis, and there are 7 different junior portfolio managing groups within our class, and each group has the chance to run one of these meetings. And during these meetings, they will ask everyone in the class to submit a recommendation memo, as Stephen just talked about, where they will suggest one stock to buy and one stock to sell within the portfolio. From there, they will take all of these recommendations and analyze them and pick a few of the trendiest stocks, and then from there they will put together a presentation to give in front of the class, and they will tell us what stocks to focus on, and from there they open up the class to a free-flowing, open-ended discussion in order to come to a intelligent conclusion of what will add most value to our portfolio. So from there, I would just like to give you a brief story about how one of these investment strategy meetings is run, and just to show you how investment decisions are not always a black and white decision, and sometimes they're very back and forth, give and take kind of thing among the students, and sometimes you need to go semi-roundabout way to get to a valuable decision for the portfolio. So this story that I'm about to share isn't necessarily very personal to me, because during this particular meeting I had not recommended either of these stocks, but the story was pretty cool, so I thought I would share it with you. So per RM, for the recommendation memo for this meeting, the junior portfolio managing group that was giving the presentation came to the conclusion that the students generally wanted to sell Caterpillar out of the portfolio and add in Halliburton to the portfolio. As you know, Caterpillar is a heavy machinery equipment company, and Halliburton is an oil field service company. So at the time of this meeting, Caterpillar was selling at a very deep discount, and Halliburton, we came to the conclusion that Halliburton was a very undervalued company, and it would add much diversification to our portfolio in the energy sector. So the group that was presenting, they gave us these two stocks to focus on, and then at that time they opened up the class to a discussion. The general consensus for the most part was that we wanted to sell Caterpillar and add in Halliburton. This was all good until one of the students spoke up and said that he thinks that we are jumping the gun a little bit on selling Caterpillar, because he did research on the company and found that even though the company was selling at a very deep discount at the time, it was expected to rebound over the summer months and would add back value from the loss it had acquired so far. So at this time, the students had a decision to make. So it was either will Caterpillar, the loss that we would acquire from realizing, once we sold Caterpillar, once the realized loss that we would acquire with the decision to invest in Halliburton, would that outweigh the loss that we would have realized from Caterpillar? So at this time, during the meeting, the junior portfolio group opened up the class to a vote. And at the time, the students came to the conclusion that Halliburton would be a much more valuable decision for the portfolio. And this was made an awesome decision, because the next day Halliburton skyrocketed within the market and added much value to the portfolio. So this just shows you that sometimes you have to get rid of a good stock within your portfolio and replace it with an even better stock. So personally, this fund has really taught me two things. The first one is, since it has allowed us to hold meetings like this, it has really showed me that you need to have multiple perspectives when analyzing a stock, because sometimes you get a very biased opinion once you get your mind set on one stock, and you seem to tune out the good or the bad in the stock that could sway you the other way. So these meetings really help get many different students' perspectives on what they feel would be the most valuable decision for the portfolio. And the second thing is, it has really helped us want to stay up to date with the market and current events, so we can make very intelligent and dynamic comments during these investment strategy meetings to help further the fund. Next up is going to be Brian, and he's going to talk about how this fund has helped him with his future career.
Thank you, Hunter. As you said, my name is Brian Vung. I'm also a junior portfolio manager in the group called Risky Business in the current Finance 461 class. I just wanted to talk to you about how the Student Managed Fund has gave me so much confidence going into my future career with Edward Jones Investments. This past summer, I had a formal internship with Edward Jones Investments as a financial advisor, overseer, basically going over what a financial advisor would do in a daily business setting. I would sit in client meetings and just do work that they needed to get done. And I had an opportunity to go into a training program with Edward Jones Investments. It's a 9-month training program 2 months out of the summer, I'll be studying for my Series 66 and Series 7 certificates. And in August, I'll be moving to St. Louis, Missouri to go to Edward Jones headquarters to be training. And before I came into the Student Management Fund, I had a very limited perspective from my formal internship. I had a very limited perspective on how portfolio management is really run and how it can benefit clients in the future. And after going through the Student Management Fund, going through the recommendation memos and investment strategy meetings, I've gained a lot of knowledge and a lot of confidence in what I want to do for the rest of my life, which is help clients reach their financial goals, whether it be retirement or college savings. So I just wanted to give you a quick outlook on how this has really helped me give confidence in what I'm going to be doing potentially for the rest of my life. So I just want to say thank you. Next up is going to be Justin. He's going to give the senior manager's perspective.
Thank you, Brian. Like you said, I'm Justin Hart, and I'm a senior portfolio manager within the Student Managed Fund. I took the class last year. I took 461 last year, so I gained the experience that you heard from these past 3 speakers about financial statements, understanding what goes into it, what to identify, and the key ratios within a company to identify a good company and a bad company. So not only does the Student Managed Fund help current students within 461, but it also helps those that have already taken it and want to pursue a career path in portfolio management. So to take you through the process of what a senior portfolio manager does, I'll start with the left part of the screen. We get a macro view from the officers, the first 3 speakers, of how the industry is going and what to focus on. And then we move on to focusing on the industry. I, for one, took healthcare as the industry of choice, which I would specialize in. But the other industries, there's 5 of them here: financial, industrials, technology, healthcare, and energy. We broke these down to make a portfolio a little bit more diverse. And then once I got healthcare as my chosen path, we looked at different research within that industry. We looked at trends, the companies within the sector, news and developments, which would gain experience. And then as a senior portfolio manager, we strategized. We use fundamental analysis and technical analysis to give advice. So then the last stage of a senior portfolio manager would be to advise the junior portfolio managers of what to buy, what to sell, what to hold on to in our portfolio as of right now, and at what prices. So at the beginning, I'll take you through a progression of what the Student Managed Fund came to and what it is now. So at the beginning of the fund, we didn't have 50 stocks, so we weren't as diversified as we could have been. We selected stocks to alleviate some of that unsystematic risk and to get up to 50 stocks. So our unsystematic risk would be very low. And then we broke down the fund based on asset allocation to different percentages within certain industries. We broke down the sector and looked at different suppliers, looked at competitors, so we were diverse even within a sector. So for example, I took healthcare. The 3 different segments within healthcare that I looked at were in cardiovascular, cancer, and pharmaceuticals. We mentioned before that Celgene was the top performer in the fund, and that was focusing on cancer. So even within an industry, I was trying to be diverse, looking at what can we not have a high correlation between suppliers and competitors. So if the market did take a turn, one fund, if it affects another one, instead of taking 2 funds down, it would only be 1. So now that we are diverse and have 50-some stocks within our portfolio, we're looking more at the market risk of beta, and then trying to, knowing that we are diverse with having 50 stocks, we're picking the top performers within an industry, knowing that we have a good portfolio already. So if we look at Celgene, for example, we're going to weight that a little bit more because we know it's a great performer. And after looking through the financials and the ratios that I mentioned before, we know that Celgene is a strong company. So to take away what a senior portfolio manager and myself took away from this experience was definitely the importance of reading different articles, staying current with the news. So the different articles and different magazines that I read often are Fortune, Bloomberg, and Wall Street Journal. And then I also watch and stay current with CNBC to see market trends and any news that are developing. So to talk more about the active learning of a senior portfolio manager and the experiences that we have, I'm going to turn it over to Plaid.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Vlad, and I'm a senior analyst for the information technology sector of the Student Managed Fund. And I would like to talk a little about our experiences and what we've learned as senior managers from this project. We use lots of financial tools in order to evaluate and analyze our investments. One of those tools was definitely a Bloomberg business terminal that we have here on our campus. Probably finance professionals who are here used it before in the career. If not, Bloomberg Terminal is basically a combination of the hardware and software that allows you to access any financial data you can only imagine. But considering the size of it, you have to have tools and skills in order to get the data out. Well, having such a treasure chest in our disposal, not able to use it, was definitely a shame. So we found those keys, and those keys were the Bloomberg certifications that teach you how to use all the filter searches or functions, or even a hardware that comes with the Bloomberg terminal in order to receive that data. As of today, we're proud to say that all of our senior managers achieved their certifications, and we have it, and we used it for the benefit of the Student Managed Fund. And being a part of the Student Managed Fund team definitely influenced our decision to obtain those certifications and use this tool in our experience. From personal perspective, I would like to say that using Bloomberg definitely allowed me to adapt more quickly for the use of the similar database analysis tool that I had to use during my internship with People's Bank of Alabama, and I think Anton and Justin would agree with me that it definitely helped us to adapt for this kind of virtual environment, as to say. Speaking of internships, future careers, and interviews that come with it, I would like to talk a bit about how Student Managed Fund experience prepared us for the real world and interviews. Well, first of all, managing real money means real responsibility. And realization of that responsibility and realization that your advice and your opinion might affect the portfolio performance in terms of hundreds or even thousands of dollars definitely shapes and changes your view, how you perceive the market news, trends, and everything that happens around you. You become more alert. Instead of reading the Facebook news feed, you're reading the financial news. So all of that is basically just what young professional experience in any startup position or any financial professional experiences emotionally during his work. Gain, losses, predictions, and so forth. So basically, Student Managed Fund prepared us not only technically but mentally and emotionally for the similar working conditions. All of us are different. We have different strategies. We have different opinions about different companies. But to have an opinion and to have a professional opinion are two different things. And Student Managed Fund experience definitely helped us to form a professional opinion with the ability to support it. Not just to say that, Apple is bad. No, actually to support and explain why. That ability definitely comes from hours and months of basically research, staying on top of the news about market, politics, and everything that affects your sector and portfolio as a whole. So now, if during the interview any questions will arise about specific sector or market, we definitely will be able to answer those questions, because 7 months, that's all what we've been doing, but learning about it. And speaking of modern terms, we'll know what's up, as to say. Also, that expertise comes from the using those financial tool analysis. And it's not only the Bloomberg that I mentioned earlier, that's the generation of the Excel spreadsheets, because to disseminate some data that you need and you can't find anywhere online or in a book. So you definitely need to generate certain spreadsheets. You have to use certain online tools for ratio analysis and so far, and so on and so on. And all of those are going to be useful in our future careers with Edward Jones or any other companies that specialize in wealth management. And of course, Bloomberg certifications is a great asset on the resume, because most of the financial companies use Bloomberg. You have to know how to use it, and it gives you a competitive advantage over other candidates for the job. So in sum, Student Managed Fund definitely shaped up our opinions. It prepared us mentally, technologically, and fundamentally for the real life interviews and financial careers that follow those interviews. Thank you, and with that, I will pass it to the Brad, who will talk about officer's perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Vlad. Like you said, my name is Brett Metzger. I'm also a senior officer for the Student Managed Fund. I'm the Vice President of Quality Control. Some of the things that I do for the fund are recording minutes for all officer meetings. I help approve the trade orders, and I also set up a Yahoo portfolio for the junior managers in the class, so they could easily, go online and track the stocks that are currently in the portfolio and help them do analysis on those. I want to start with the graph there on the right side, the capitalization summary. As you can see, we're 88.2% allocated into large cap stocks. The main reason that we've concluded because of this is, these are the companies that we see every day, especially being in your early 20s. These are your Apples. These are your Microsoft. Like when we wake up in the morning, the first thing that we look at is our phone. The first thing we're going to see is that Apple logo. When we start our computer on, the first thing we're going to see is that Microsoft logo popping up for their operating system. So these are the things, that we're most familiar with. So I believe that's a big reason why we're so heavily allocated in those large caps. But you also want to look and see how the small cap has actually had the highest return out of those asset classes. So we want to basically use this and use this information to potentially capture higher returns in these other asset classes. And like a comparison right here, using an efficient market hypothesis, which is mainly saying that larger corporations have generally more publicly accessed information. Comparing Walmart to Family Dollar. Walmart, go on Google, anything you want to know about Walmart, you just have to type it in a Google search, and probably the first link that pops up is going to be exactly what you wanted. Comparing that to a Family Dollar, where it's a mid-cap company, there isn't as much information out there on them. There might be a better opportunity to reap in some profits if you go for the Family Dollar over the Walmart Corporation. And a big thing learning about this was, not to stay too focused on any one stock in particular. The amount of time that you'll spend analyzing one stock, trying to figure out if that's going to be a profitable stock for the portfolio. There's 1,000 other stocks out there that are probably outperforming the one you're talking about right now. And then moving on to that style summary on the left side there. We're 41.2% allocated into growth stocks, and those have actually returned the highest percentage out of those subset asset classes. So we're actually doing very good and hitting target on that. Overall, by looking at both charts, we definitely can tell that we want to facilitate and we want to move into mid and small cap ranges of stocks in the future, especially moving into the fall and over the summer, do some research on small and mid cap stocks so we can hopefully, get some better profits in the future for the fund. Now, moving on for the forward here, we want to continue doing fundamental analysis of securities currently in the portfolio, as well as securities outside of the portfolio. You also want to contribute technical analysis to that as well. You want to be looking at the balance sheets. You want to be seeing the news and things like that, so we can better pick funds to pick into the portfolio going into the fall. We also want to consider those two graphs I just showed you and realize that we are heavily allocated into large cap stocks. Maybe in the fall we can encourage junior portfolio managers to, instead of looking at all these companies that we're more familiar with, try to dig deeper and find small companies where you can really, small companies you can really turn in some big profits if you can catch the right ones at the right time. You also want to consider macroeconomic effects as going on in the environment around us. Definitely, you're going to want to take into consideration the debt crisis over in Europe. You're going to want to consider, what they're going to do with Greece. You're going to want to consider the rising economy in India. And you're also going to want to react to analysts' opinions on China. They've changed. Over the course of time, they thought China was going to be evolving at a very high rate for the next 10, 15 years. But recently they've actually came out with studies that have proven that their growth rate is slowing down a significant amount. And that's going to be something that you're going to have to react to in portfolio management in the future. And we also want to keep continuing to follow our current strategy with the portfolio, which is a buy and hold strategy. And mainly this is to cut on transaction costs. And then just a short story about my experience with the fund. I feel very lucky and fortunate that I was in the Finance 461 class during my fall semester, the original semester where we started this. It's not every day where I can say, I had hands-on experience managing a portfolio while I was in college. And that's just an opportunity that a lot of people don't get. So I'm very fortunate for that. And like my fellow Joneser over there, I'm also going into the Edward Jones Financial Advisor Career Development Program. While with him going to St. Louis, it's going to take me to Tempe, Arizona in October. So, things like this have made it that available for me. And I can honestly tell you that every interview I had with Edward Jones, whether it was a face-to-face or over the phone, they asked me about it. It wasn't, pick one thing off your resume and tell me a little bit about it. It was, hey, what's this student managed fund thing that you have here on your resume? And then I can honestly say, they love that. And I think that really significantly contributed to me getting the job. Now I really just want to pass it off to Anton here. He's going to do a brief summary. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Brad. So, as you can see, the Student Managed Fund has really helped us to grow not only on a personal, but also on a professional level. And I think I'm not going to exaggerate if I'm going to say that, speaking for everybody that was involved in the Student Managed Fund, it has been one of the best opportunities that I, had a chance to be part of during my college career at Penn Erie. But also I want to point out the most important thing, in my personal opinion, is that this fund, as a senior, I had a chance to interview with different companies, and looking at institutional finance firms or wealth management firms, it's a very, very competitive industry to be in. And this fund has provided us with tools, skills, and knowledge to give us that extra competitive edge, so we can be, sometimes even exceed other students from much bigger and well-known schools. And at that note, I would like to say special thanks to Vincent, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us today. But we would like to say special thanks to him as a whole group that, with Dr. Halsenauer making this happen and making us allowed to have experienced this real hands experience is priceless. Thank you very much. And now I would like to Dr. Hunter finish this Q&A.
All right. I just want to send out a thanks, just like Anton did, not only to the board and to John, but also to the students and of course to Vince for making this reality. This fund, as you can see, that they get to brag a little bit, and they should be. We should be very proud. This fund has already started paying huge dividends in monetary terms for the school, right? But it's also paying huge dividends for the students as well in their life. And I think you can see that, and that's what's making it pretty special for them and for me. So we'd just like to thank everybody, and we'd like to turn it to you guys for any questions that you may have. Yes?
FMC Technologies, not a household word. The chairman of the board was here last week. They want to grow to a $6 billion company, and they want to look at that for next year. And for those who are seniors and graduating, would anyone else like to share what you're doing in June, July, August? Seniors? Jobs?
Go ahead. We start that one.
Well, I got accepted into the Financial Advisor Career Development Program with Edward Jones. So over the summer, because I don't start my Series 7 and 66 studying until August, I'm just going home over the summer, spend some time with my family before I move out west, and then begin my studying in August. And then in October, I should move to Tempe, Arizona, which is one of their 2 headquarters. Go 7 months of training out there, and then in April of next year, they give us the opportunity basically to open up our own Edward Jones office, basically anywhere in the country you want. They're going to end up giving us a giant list of places where they need offices or they have people retiring and things like that. So, you know, I mean, opportunities are endless with what I've been provided with.
Where is home for you?
Coudersport, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We've got students that are not only, you know, getting job opportunities, but they've already gotten the jobs and they're sending back emails letting me know, hey, during the interview process, this is what I talked about the whole time. It was such a wonderful experience because it made me immediately comfortable because I had endless information to talk about, and that really means quite a bit. We've got students interviewing with BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, all over the place, right? So, and then internships, even some really impressive internships here local. In fact, Bob saw this presentation 6 months ago, and he offered 8 internships this last semester with People's Bank of Alabama, and I believe 4 of those students are here today. So this is opening up a lot of doors, and the students are just running with it, and they're exceeding my expectations all over the place. So I'm very, very impressed, especially when you consider they're doing this on a pro bono basis. Trying to get students to do anything and not putting points attached to it is extremely difficult as a professor. So I'm just blown away at how much they enjoy this process.
I didn't end up with the full-time job yet in the financial or banking field, but I have a couple interviews lined up. I have a full-time job coming, but it has nothing to do, unfortunately, with the finance right now. But my plan for the summer, I just signed up for the preparation course for the CFE, Certified Fraud Examiner, and hopefully that will give me ability to get into auditing, because I'm really interested in the banking industry mostly.
Okay. I accepted a job at GE Energy. It's in Atlanta, and it's in the corporate leadership program. So this program is a 2-year program. You do 4 different rotations and 4 different jobs, and then after the 2 years, you whatever fits best, whether it be within finance or whether that be in a different route, you pick that based on your strengths. So definitely this fund has helped me progress through what I can talk about in an interview, what strengths I kind of developed myself and understood what I need to work on too. So.
Yeah, as I said before, I'm going to be starting in June with studying for my Series 66, Series 7 exams with Edward Jones Investments. I'll be going to St. Louis, Missouri, their other headquarters, and same with Brett. We'll have the opportunity once I graduate from the program of opening up my own office anywhere in the country. So.
Then I got accepted into a very similar program as Justin for Lockheed Martin in Washington, D.C. As a financial analyst, where you'll be rotating around every, I think it's 1.5 years to different positions within the corporate finance function of the company, and then you eventually land yourself in kind of an accelerated leadership program. And this fund, even though not directly related to what I'll be doing, I feel like it just really helped me make me into a really well-rounded financial professional, and just giving you confidence, and even if it's just your own personal finances going forward in life.
And I'm starting my MBA here this summer at Barron, and I'm hoping for next year to be a senior manager of the fund. So that's
Yeah, I'm graduating this May, and then I will have my CFE level 1 exam this June, and also I want to use the summertime to prepare for my GRE, and I'm actively looking for opportunity in microeconomic data analysis and income metrics, that kind of field, because I have a lot of experience in this in data analysis. My last intern was Columbia Business School, and I've done extensive research
the job planned out yet, but I'm taking the CFA exam in June, and I'll probably after that I'll probably looking for a job around December after just getting more stuff into my resume.
I still have a semester left. After that semester, I plan to study for my CFA exam and possibly attend graduate school. I have 3 children, my husband and I, so I'm stuck. Or not stuck.
You're already invested.
Yeah, they have their hearts set on going to the school that they're at, so I'm going to stay here for a while, and I'll be looking after I graduate for internships.
Pretty much I'm graduating this semester as well. And I've been through the 3rd round of his P&C Wealth Management in Pittsburgh, and also a 2nd round of his Evans Capital here and here. But nothing is official yet, so I have my fingers crossed.
Thank
I
you all.
wasn't here
Go
last
ahead.
time.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the presentation. It'd be interesting to understand how the fund works. And maybe some brochures or something that I could read up on.
Sure, yeah, I'll get your business card, and I can give you an investment policy statement too. But did you get a copy of the quarterly report? Okay, so I can send you all of that if you want, a copy of the investment policy statement that we went through last time too. We just didn't want to necessarily repeat the exact same presentation and let them give you a little bit more of a personal experience this time around. But yes, that'll explain exactly how it works, and it is very interesting, so I'll be glad to get you a copy of that. And if you've got any kind of questions, or you want one of them to go over and give you the run through, I'll let one of them do that. If they like. Anton, you want to explain a little bit about the investment policy statement?
We would like to have, well, the policy is pretty much long-term investment. We try to just say, we hope to keep our funds as long as we can, and just to extend on them, but to lose. Well, as we always said, after doing this presentation and analyzing the quarterly report, we found that instead of largely focusing, as you can see, we allocated 88% of the resources to large caps. And even though we had a good return there, it was 11%, approximately 11%, the small cap and mid cap had much higher returns. Small cap had actually 19%, and mid cap was around 15%. So we kind of missed a lot of opportunities in that area. So moving forward, I think that our investment strategy is going to have to be towards exploring other opportunities, not as well-known companies as we did before. Answers.
Right, and so they got a benchmark, and right now the benchmark is the S&P 500. So what they're basically trying to do is they're trying to beat the S&P 500 from both a risk standpoint, which they had a little bit less risk, and from a return standpoint. And now at the end of this week, they actually have a little bit of above return. So they're actually beating their benchmark, which is pretty impressive because most professionals can't beat that benchmark. And that also includes all of their transaction costs. So not only they're beating it with the fact that they're making these $10 trades as well, which you make enough of those, it starts to eat away, and that's why they've become very conservative with the trade numbers, with the number of trades they make. And we've talked a lot about research about, there's no point in making a whole lot of trades unless you've got a really good point in doing it. Because not only does it have to be a good pick, it has to be a good pick above and beyond the transaction cost as well. And it's been amazing to see the evolution of these meetings, because before there was real money involved, these meetings were a whole lot about their gut feelings, like, hey, Valentine's Day is coming up, let's invest in Tiffany's, and now all of a sudden, as Stephen was talking about, they're bringing in all kinds of different types of analysis. What they're saying, they're backing up with numbers, and as a professor, all of a sudden I'm getting a little warm feeling inside, because there's an education process here, and they definitely involved the process, so I'm very proud of them.
We have another group coming in, so
Very
some of
good.
these students,
Thank
I don't know
Thank
if
you.
you're all
Yes.
staying for lunch, but they'll be here if you want to meet with the students over lunch. That's great.
The vast majority of them will be here for lunch, and some may even, sit in and watch the next presentation.
Yeah, sure. Can have a seat in the center here if you don't want to stand up.
Thank you guys.
We're bringing Justin back up. He's heading up the second thing.
And we'd also like to thank you guys as well. To elaborate more on that, we have 5 finance students. You can raise your hand, all the finance students. and then the MEs, the mechanical engineers, and then the plastics. So 3 different majors kind of bringing it all in together in this project. So to intro our company, we're Bayfront Living, we're Group 4, and this is our project. So before we developed a company, we wanted to establish an opportunity or a problem in the industry. We saw that there was trends that a lot of people didn't have a lot of time after they got out of work or after they went to education. So not enough time and not enough time in a day. But they also live fast-paced lifestyles, and they also use social media whenever they did have that time. And they also like to entertain. They like to have quick convenience and products, and they also like to be competitively priced. So which leads us into our company's mission statement is the dedication to provide customers with convenient and innovative products, but at a competitive price. To talk a little bit more about our product, I'm going to turn it over to Tyler.
Hi, I'm Tyler Pecos. So our design, it's called the TIN scale, which stands for the Touchscreen Integrated Networking Scale. So it's a food scale. It's a little bit different than a normal food scale, though. It does perform the normal processes of the food scale. So if you're trying to eliminate portions or cut down on portion size, you can definitely do that. But we've also incorporated a food preparation kind of feature for it. So our scale has a database that includes recipes, ingredients, and foods. So in this database, you can use that to, like I said, prepare foods. If you're wanting to make a chili one night, you have your bowl on the scale. You can zero that out, like cut that to 0, and your chili requires, well, first off, you program it in that you want to make a chili, because that'll be in your recipe database. And it first requires ½ a pound of hamburger meat. So you start throwing hamburger meat in. When you reach ½ a pound, the scale will beep and tell you that's a ½ a pound. So then you can move on to your next ingredient, which might be beans. So then you pour your beans in until your scale finds that it's a good ratio. Then you can move on to your other ingredients and so on and so forth. Now, also we incorporated a social media aspect into our scale. So along with all kinds of recipes and ingredients and foods, you can also get online and upload and download recipes with other consumers, and you can discuss these recipes. So I can try foods from all over the world. And not only is it limited to foods, but you can do salads, drink mixes, soups, anything. And the social media aspect also gives us kind of an easy marketing feature, because people use social media networks so often that information spreads incredibly fast. So we feel that our product, once we get onto these social media networks, it'll spread really fast. And to talk a little bit more about marketing, I'll introduce Lizette.
Hi, I'm Lizette. I'm going to be discussing the industry. The industry that TIN Scale is going to be a part of is the Scales and Balance Except laboratory industry. It's a $2.3 billion industry. However, the segment that we're going to focus on within that industry is retail, commercial, and household scales, which is a $575 million industry. And some characteristics of this industry are that it is a very mature industry. Technologies are very established and very standardized. There's a lack of innovation, so we recognize that with our product, we'll be able to bring some innovation into the market, which currently is lacking that innovation, and we'll be able to bring some life into this market. Next, we're going to have Lauren discuss the website.
So we have our website, bayfrontlivingllc.com, which we created kind of showcase our project, I guess. And so if you want to take a look at it, I'm going to overview it. So at our website, you can look at the different products that will have a little bit more about the company, contact, community, and learn a little bit more about what Bayfront Living is about. And as you scroll down, you can see on the side, you can favorite recipes, rank recipes, check out your friends' recipes, look at recipes from TV. And this page kind of shows what Tyler was talking about, and it kind of demonstrates how you can take a variety of different ingredients and put them together to make all different kinds of things, like different foods, drinks, dressings, or so on. And then on the side here, it shows it just directly links you to social media, so you can share your experiences and kind of create a sense of community. Our other plan with our website is to gain additional revenue through advertisements. So we assume that since our 10 scale is integrated with the online application, that anybody who buys a 10 scale will also be using the website. So theoretically, as our sales increase, our ad revenue would also increase. So next, I'm going to hand it over to Blake to talk about our product design.
So the development of our main product, the 10 scale, started with strategic engineering practices led by the engineers here at Bayfront Living. The scale consists of an outer housing as well as various internal components. Bayfront Living is equipped with an automated assembly line and a research and development program to keep our products on top of the market. The parts of the scale that will be made in-house are the outer housing and the scale top platform. The outer housing is going to be made out of polypropylene material and will be injection molded. The scale top platform will be made out of stamped aluminum. Other parts of the scale consist of the touchscreen, the USB port, the speaker, power source, and etc. will all be outsourced by other companies and purchased by Bayfront Living at minimal cost. We'll now turn to Emily for material and software.
As Blake said, the outer housing of the scale would be made out of polypropylene. This was decided for its low cost, and it is also very easily to process with this material. From a material property standpoint, this material has high impact strength, chemical resistance, and temperature resistance. For the software of the scale, we will be a third-party company will develop the software and will be contracted for 5 years. During the time they're contracted with us, they will develop the software, debug the software, and provide periodic software updates. Kyle will now talk about the database and the facility overview.
For our 10 scale, it's going to reference the USDA National Nutrient Database, which contains over 8,000 food items. In our 10 scale, the PED board, or the PCB board, is going to include the food names and the food weights. What it's going to allow the consumers to do is to access the caloric intake and other nutritional value that comes with their recipes. And they can also, with the 10 scale, use our app and website that we're setting up to rank recipes, to share recipes, and show pictures with other friends. Our 10 scale, we wanted to develop a website. The website's going to cost $499 to design, and it's going to cost roughly $12.50 a year to keep the name, and we're going to avoid cyber squatting by buying up similar names to Bayfront Living LLC. Our facility is going to be located at 2424 West 23rd Street, and the facility contains 3-phase electrical, loading docks, and enough parking spaces for our company. Our staff is going to include 19 people, and that's going to cost us $1.23 million for this project to have the staff with their benefits. Now I'm going to turn it over to Matt to talk about the equipment.
Major equipment used to manufacture the 10 scale was an injection molding machine with 2 molds that were 2 cavities apiece that manufactured the upper and lower housing. In addition to that, we also used a sheet metal stamping machine which manufactured the tray, the scale tray itself, and we also used robots, conveyor systems, and other quality equipment in the process of manufacturing this product. Bill is going to talk about automation now.
Bayfront Living expects to be up and running good product within 6 months, and as previously mentioned, the entire assembly process is going to be automated. To meet these automation needs, we've selected Epson, an industry leader in robotics. They offer fast cycle times and high repeatability. These robots are going to be procured through Automation Marketing Incorporated, headquartered out of Cleveland. They also opened an office recently in Northeast, the region's Epson dealer. In switching to robotic assembly, we're going to have a 5-year cost savings of over $250,000 by eliminating 5 employees. Robot-wise, we're going to require 2 6-axis robots, 5 SCAR robots, and 6 linear robots. We're also going to incorporate Epson conveyor tracking and vision guidance. And where possible, we're going to integrate this vision guidance and conveyor tracking to perform operations on parts while they're still moving. Additionally, the top and bottom half of the 10 scale are going to be assembled on adjacent conveyors and rejoined. Quality-wise, there's going to be 2 in-process quality inspections using the vision guidance and conveyor tracking cameras. The first check is going to ensure that the PCB board, the load cell, and the LCD screen are present and properly located. The second is going to be after the 6-axis robot makes the connections to the circuit board to ensure they were all properly made. Moving on, the cycle time of the injection molding machine is 25 seconds. So every 25 seconds, the top and bottom half of the tin scale is going to fall on the moving conveyor. And then the total assembly process cycle time is 4.5 minutes from when it hits the conveyor until the last operation. And once the first one makes it through, they're going to come out every 25 seconds. The way we plan on filling orders is as they are ordered, and if a rush order comes in, Bayfront Living can make 3,400 scales in a 24-hour period. Next, Brian's going to talk about downtime.
With the constant changes in the economy and fluctuations in demand, the varying demands will require us to make products. Orders will be completed based on this varying demand. Well, during this downtime, Bayfront Living, the professionals at Bayfront Living will engineer and manufacture special molding needs from outside companies. This will allow other companies to make their products into fully functional parts, while at the same time creating a source of revenue for our company. In addition, Bayfront Living will also produce a product line extension of products that accommodate our tin scale. This includes kitchen utensils and showering items, which can be found on our website. I'll pass it to Justin now, who will discuss the initial investment.
Before our first sale and first dollar of revenue, we need to take in consideration the aspects of the business before all those revenue come into. So we need to take in consideration property, plant, and equipment. We need to take into consideration R&D, software expenses, wages of the employees that we have. We stated 19 employees. Then we also need to consider the material going into making this product. So before we talk about the funding, where we're generating all this funding for these initial costs, we need to talk about how much we're going to sell this product for. There's 3 different methods you can use for selling a product. We can use market penetration, value-based pricing, and expense plus pricing. Market penetration is selling a product for under what you think it should be sold for to enter the market, and then raising the price once it's in the market and you gain market share. Expense plus pricing is just taking a planned margin up and above the cost of goods sold, and then value-based pricing, which is what we'll use for our product, uses the value of the product and addresses that to the consumer. So using this value-based pricing, the 3 different methods that go into it are a macro method, micro method, and expense plus. Using a weighted average of all 3 of these, macro being an overall look at the industry and competitors, and then kind of determining what market share you want to gain from the market. Micro being managerial objectives and a top-down approach, and then using historical sales for an idea of what you need to sell the product for. And then expense plus, which I said before is a margin up and above the cost of goods sold. So using a weighted average, we weighted more towards macro and expense plus, and kind of shied away from the micro approach because our company is a startup and had no historical sales. So using this weighted average, we got a sales number or a price for our product from year 1 to 5. That was our time frame, our startup business, from about $100 to $119 per product. Instead of wavering the price every year and upsetting customers, we understood that we needed a constant price. So we decided to sell the product for $110 constantly from year 1 to year 5. To talk more about the funding and the pro forma statements, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan.
When at Bayfront Living, we have 3 different forms of revenue. The first would be the sale of our products, the second would be the advertising, and the third would be the job shop molding that Brian looked at. One way that we thought to increase more revenue was to cut a cost called wholesaler costs. Wholesaler costs are costs associated with like renting shelf space from different companies such as like Walmart or Macy's or Bed Bath & Beyond. And the way we decided to cut this cost was to offer a 10% discount or coupon to the first 10,000 customers that purchased our product from our website. This would ultimately cut the wholesaler fees as well as increase our advertising costs or advertising revenue from the views of the website. It would also cause a decrease in our overall revenue, but the cut in the wholesaler fees would greatly outweigh the decrease in revenue. The next part I'll talk about is the weighted average cost of capital. We looked at our 3 main competitors, which were Mettler Toledo, Avery Way, and Hobarth, to determine what their optimal capital structure was. We weighted these accordingly and determined that our optimal capital structure would be 62% debt and 38% equity. When looking at debt, we would receive a $1 million loan from PNC Bank at a 7-year length of 3.8 annual interest. And then we would receive $2.1 million loan from a small business association, which had the same 7-year life, and a 2.25% interest rate plus a 3.25% premium, which was the New York prime rate. And averaging those together and weighting them accordingly, we determined a cost of debt of 5.5%. So then moving on to the equity, we would want to receive $1.9 million from a venture capital firm, and their rate of return or our cost of debt would be 25%. So calculating our weighted average cost of capital was 11.5%. And now I will pass it over to Lauren to talk about net present value.
So the net present value is the present value of all the cash flows minus the total initial outlay, which Justin talked about. And a positive net present value means that a project is worth more than it costs. So to find the present value of all the cash flows, we also need to find the terminal cash flow value and add it back to our last year's cash flow. And the terminal cash flow value is just the present value of the cash flows at a future point in time, assuming a stable growth rate forever. And our terminal growth rate was 2.33%, which was the industry average. So the terminal cash flow value allows us to include the value of all the cash flows beyond this 5-year projection period. So after we calculated our NPV, we found that we had a positive net present value of $63 million, which suggests that our product will ultimately be profitable. And then a company with too much extra cash might look like they're not pursuing enough opportunity or not paying enough back to their shareholders, or in our case, our venture capitalists. So our plan after the first year of operation is to begin paying back our venture capitalists, and after our cash flows begin to increase as the year goes on, we plan to reinvest in our company to fund research and development so we can develop new products that fit into our mission statement, and to also decrease dependency on outside suppliers so we can begin making the internal components in-house in the future. And now David's going to talk about our exit strategy.
The question still remains on what Bayfront Living would like to do after our initial 5-year period. The 3 alternatives looked into were to go public with an initial public offering, to sell the company, or to continue operations. The decision as the current owners that we came to was to ultimately sell the business. The reason not to go public is because of the possible costs and possible conflicts with new shareholders. When going or to continue operations, we're wary at our current experience level that we would not be able to maintain the firm after the initial 5 years. So this ultimately led us to sell the company because we believe that not only can we protect our employees, but it's also for the best health of the company. We would now like to open the question and answer portion of the presentation.
Oh, are you going to have that scale tray antimicrobial cover? We can always entertain that. Of course. Everything in the world.
There's always that option.
Question, Greg. Just, did you guys plot what your anticipated demand is? I'm assuming, like your anticipated demand and when you would break even?
We did that in our statement of cash flow. We saw that in our net income was negative the first year, and then the second year the second year would have been a full payback. And then we had forecasting models within the paper. We didn't put them on here, but very good progressive increase in sales and revenue too. Even if we took 2 different scenarios and did what if the economy was really good and what if the economy was really bad, and it was still really projected very high because of the uniqueness of our product, being able to use social media and use the convenience factor of a step-by-step basis.
So is this a totally novel product in the market? There's nobody that makes anything like this?
There's nothing similar to this. And bringing it all together and having it be a household product is very unique. There's other scales like they mentioned before, Mettler, Toledo, and Hobart. They have scales, but the scales that they use are the ones you see in Walmart for whenever they put their meat on the thing to see what weight, and then they track that back to an inventory system. That's the only integration for an online basis, but nothing within consumer goods. So. And that's the biggest market share too. Like all the people that could cook and don't have much time to cook. So
Can you patent things?
we put patent costs in here, but I mean we haven't
Yeah.
like we would have a company that had patent like that.
Yeah.
It's too late now.
supposedly.
Yeah.
There's a company
Well, you can still
on,
do it in the US, just can't do it internationally.
there's a company online, it's called Quirky.com, and you can submit ideas, and they will help with the manufacturing, or get somebody to do the manufacturing, and then, pay revenue. So I would encourage you to at least look at that.
You can license
Through there. It's just a fascinating site. Fascinating.
I wondered if you looked at opportunities to partner with companies targeting a similar market. So immediately something like Vitamix or whatever that one is comes to mind. They're all
$500 mixer.
Yeah, the $500 blender or whatever it is. But you know, it seems to me as if this is a perfect match for a product like that.
We didn't entertain those. We kind of had a thought of if we make our product just and focus in on our competitiveness, that whenever we do get to this point, our value has gained so tremendously, and then we can partner with those companies that are in the same industry, and then that kind of puts us up above any other product that they want to acquire. So that, we didn't really entertain kind of mixing in, but we can always do that after this.
What's the demographics of your expected market?
We only looked at the United States.
Age groups?
Females from the age of 22 or older.
And we found that, well, it turned out that
22,
females
where can I find this product?
Whenever we did studies, it showed that females of our age group purchase more technology than males do. So, and this being a product that we can take the outside shell, and if it sits on a countertop, we can change the look of it by just a simple color in the plastic. So this could kind of tailor it to your kitchen and make it not stand out like a sore thumb.
And then from the social media aspect of it, like the research we did showed that that demographic is the one that's using the social media the most. So that just seemed like for us the logical choice to go in that direction, because that was just the one that seemed like would attract to our product the most.
Or without incorporating like, a radio or CD player into it.
The technology that we looked at was pretty difficult starting out, but I mean, we can always.
Samsung has a TV.
Time Warner, yeah.
Other question?
A bit of a challenge question for the last person who spoke. I understand how the exit strategy is a wonderful idea for the owners of the company, but you made the statement that selling the company was ultimately in the best interest of the employees. Tell me how that works.
I believe that if we sell the company as a whole, that our current employees will be able to keep their jobs with the new owners because of their experience with the company, because they've been there for 5 years already. I don't see other employees that would be best to come into this company.
Okay, well, I think it's time
Nicely
for
done.
lunch.
That was good.
My thought here is I wanted to give members of the Board of Visitors a sample of what is being done in this class, every semester of the class, as finance students and engineering students that work together on an idea like this. And they do have a presentation. Did you had your presentation, Jay? I did. Oh, you did, okay. So any of you who would be interested in seeing these presentations, I think it's very helpful to have experienced business people there to kind of ask a few questions and get the students to think a little bit more. I think in a lot of cases these businesses won't, or probably majority or all the cases, I don't know, maybe some of you have started these businesses, but I think it's more the thought process on doing what it would take to put a business together that is so valuable to them. And then at some point in your career when you feel ready to launch your idea, you know how to do it. And it'll get you thinking about, well, what kind of company could I start after maybe you've been out in the work world 5-10 years, something like that. Then that might be the time. But, or are you going to start this company?
Justin's going to GE.
It's all right. Yeah.
Bring good things to life.
All right.
Yeah.
So everybody's invited for lunch. Students, board members, faculty. Please, where is the lunch, Janet? Around the corner?
If we could have the board members first, please.